Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Thoughtful Leaders. Today we have with us Dr. Sandeep Bharadwaj, who is the Director in Charge and the Dean of Academics of the VES Management Institute. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Let's go ahead with the question, sir.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. First question. You have a corporate experience of 18 years and 15 years of academic experience. Kindly enlighten our viewers about your experience in the education industry. How has your experience been with the institute?
Okay. So, 18 years of corporate experience really gave me the roti kapda makan. It gave a lot of self-esteem and whatnot. But then the academic experience has really given the self-actualization. It is here that I have actually realized what it is giving back, right? It has. You should see the way when students come to our institute and when the students go out of the institute. So that transformation, bringing the transformation, I think is a very big high, and I really am loving it for this. Specifically, as far as our institute is concerned, I really call it rebirth of my career. This is one of the unique institutes where education is for the sake of education. Okay? It's not commercial business. And that is the reason I am here for the last 12 years of my academic career. And seriously, currently we are the top 100 institutes for the last 3 years as per NIRF government rankings. And the level of education and the things that we put in, efforts that we put in, is really recognized by industry and the students.
Okay, fine. Next question. As the director in charge of VES and the Dean of Academics, how do you tend to establish healthy relations with the students and your fellow faculty?
Okay. So, look, everybody has their own style of leadership. People follow different ways of, getting things done. Frankly, as far as I am concerned, I am more collaborative in that sense. I really work along with people. I respect people's decisions, whether it is a student or CR coming to me, or whether it's a faculty or a senior professor coming to me. I really respect their decisions, their actions, and then I take a majority view most of the times. Okay, I step back and say my view was wrong, and then that is how I love to work with people. As far as the students are concerned, we do have many of these interactions. We are physical when we were physical. Right now we are in the lockdown period, but when we were physical, we used to have this talk with the CR, and once in a month meeting the CRs. We go to the classes and take feedback about what's happening around. So all in all, I think the healthy relationship comes from being very close to people, listening to them, okay, rather than talking down to them. That's how I do.
Okay, fine. Next question.
Yeah.
Kindly enlighten our viewers about your roles and responsibilities in VES.
Yeah, so I have been the Dean of Academics for the last 6 years now. Recently, I've been promoted as a IC director for the VBS part of the institute, and all these years I have been in the leadership position whereby I have set the agenda, okay, as far as educational objectives are concerned. So the prime responsibility involves is setting the program objectives, right? So what are program objectives? Basically, is at the end of these 2 years, what is the student should learn? What is it should be known? And that is the objectives we have to actually look at when we set this program in motion. So setting the program objective and then implementing those objectives is my prime responsibility. And when I say implementing, it involves using all the resources, the human resources, like faculties and non-teaching staff. When I say faculties, then it involves giving them subjects, allocating them subjects based upon their expertise, calling in external faculties, calling in guest faculties, calling in CEOs to address our students. And then there are, of course, the non-human resources like distribution of classrooms, etc., etc. So, if you put it broadly, responsibilities come pre-academics, which is the planning part, then the in-academics, which is the delivery part, and finally the output part, where we take assessments. So I am responsible for the entire assessments that happen. We devise new methods every time for latest innovations in what's happening in assessments. We adopt them, and then of course once again doing this in collaboration with the faculties. So we are blessed with some very good faculties in our institute, very experienced faculties, and they are really very cooperative and really want to work towards establishing this as a brand.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. All right. Next question. How do you feel online education is impacting the industry? Can online education replace the classroom experience?
Okay. So my take on this is very simple. Okay. This was what we are seeing, the online, the lot of online education. This was bound to happen. Okay. We were going in this direction, though we were very slow, and education being an industry which typically responds little slower than the corporate industry. But this was bound to happen. Okay, what COVID has done is just accelerated this so-called digital transformation. But we were going in that direction; it had to happen. So online is one of the ways in which the digitalization has happened. There are various other ways. There are softwares available today, software for studying, software for assessments, and software for taking quizzes, whatnot. So the digitization was accelerated, and today because of COVID, we were suddenly pushed into saying that, okay, this is how you have to do it. But we really did it. We adopted it very, very well. So the question is, how is it impacting the industry? I think it is transformative in nature. I mean, next 2-3 years, you will find seriously, you will find major changes happening in the entire education industry, whereby people will be forced to, or willingly, they will adopt technologies. And as far as online replacing the physical classrooms are concerned, well, that may take time, or may not happen immediately. But then, of course, what we are looking at is a very blended kind of solution. Okay, so whereby you do have a major component which will be digitized or online. But then again, it will be more or less, there will be some interaction, like, okay, at least as of now. The pros and cons, I think online gives you many benefits, okay, in the sense that it's anytime, anywhere, any space learning. Okay, so a student need not actually travel 50 kilometers to a classroom, sit and look at boring faculties and doze off in the middle of the lecture. He can, at his own time, at his own space, learn at his own pace. He can learn. So those are some of the advantages. Now the question is whether these are good or these are bad. I think just like any other industry, okay, you pick up in any industry, okay, which has transformed from physical to digital. So also education will transform, and we will have to adapt to it. That is the crux.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Next question. Do you see any trend in MBA graduates opting for entrepreneurship? What are the driving forces behind it, and how does VES prepare its students for such career choices?
Oh yeah, there is a whole lot of enthusiasm for entrepreneurship. Okay, so there are students who come with this belief in mind that after these 2 years they are going to become entrepreneurs, which is a very good sign. And students are today, they are looking at examples, okay, around them. They are looking at OLX or Paytm or such other startups which have really done good in the country. So they are looking at these examples and thinking that if, we can also do it. So this is one of the inspirations that everybody comes. Many of the students come today. Those days are gone. Okay, when we used to get into MBA college and think of getting the best cushy job we could get. But today students are really surprisingly ready to slog and come up with their own startups, businesses, whatever you call it. And as far as what are the drivers, well, bad economy, okay, always gives provides more entrepreneurs. Okay, that is a universal law. So when the economy is in doldrums, people you will really find people getting into their own businesses or startups. So that is one of the biggest drivers. And apart from that, I think today the whole ecosystem made by the government is also very helpful. I mean, government is doing every possible action they are taking in promoting entrepreneurship, in promoting startups in colleges, in engineering colleges, in MBA colleges. And if you ask me, I think there is no better time to become an entrepreneur than today. And this every young student, this message goes to. I think they should listen to this, because this time will not come again. The help they are getting from authorities, from government, from various agencies, fundings they are getting, and add to that the atmosphere around them. I mean, who is going to give them a job of couple of lakhs of rupees for their MBA course? Rather go and make your own business and give employment to others. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Just a second before we proceed. Okay. What are we doing about it? Okay. So we also have we have this internal ecosystem of promoting entrepreneurship. So we have this tie-up with the NEN, if you have heard, the National Entrepreneurship Network, the Wadhwani Foundation, and it's a course called course, yes, but it's a very hands-on course. It's a skill course. So every student mandatorily goes through this skill course, and they make business plans there. They make their own their funders. They give their presentation to these funding agencies. So it's a program. We are very sure, the success of this will lead to slowly and steadily at least 10% of our student base becoming entrepreneurs, which is a very good number as far as we are concerned. And add to that, we also have our own incubation program, where they are free to come up and come up with their ideas, experiment with those ideas. Our trust is willing to fund such incubations. So all in all, the bigger system we are trying to support with our own system, where we are encouraging them to get into entrepreneurship, and which is good for them as well as the nation in the long run.
Okay. All right. Next question. Kindly enlighten our viewers on how VES creates a cohesive environment among students and faculties coming from different backgrounds and cities.
Okay, so there's a joke in our institute that we are not a management institute; we are an event management company. Okay, so so the number of events that we conduct, okay, is mind-boggling. Okay, so practically every other week we have some other major event. We have guest lectures and we have this competition and whatnot. And the idea behind this is that all these events, okay, are led by the students. They are not led by the faculties. So we have these various student cells, students groups. They are at the events, and whenever they get stuck, they come back to the faculty. They come back to the institute, to us, for their support. But they conduct these events, they implement it, they kind of invite the faculty the management, please come for this for so and so event. It is so that is the level of freedom we have given them. And because of this, there's a tremendous amount of cohesiveness, as you say, which builds within themselves and with the faculties. So they may be coming from different places, or they may be coming from different cities, rural. But once they are all together with a common goal of, let's say, doing an event like our international conference, or we have an event called Literati. So these are the mega properties that we have today, actually, and you should see the kind of involvement the students have in this, and which brings them all together, bonds them. And apart from that, academically speaking, we have this mentorship program where every faculty mentors a group of 15 to 20 students, and once in a week they meet up and they discuss academic issues, sometimes non-academic issues. If maybe they are facing harassment or something, or bullying, they come back to the mentor. So all of these are various ways in which we bring this so-called bonding in the faculties and with the students.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
In your experience, what necessary skills have you noticed that lack in the current generation of students, and how do you and VES collaborate towards facilitating proper skills to the students?
Okay. So since you said this generation, so I come from the old school, okay, and I would say the biggest thing that I see lacking is reading skills, right? So today nobody reads. Okay, no one. I when I go to the class and say, have you read this book so and so, and there is not more than 2 hands that go on. So I think reading brings in lots of it satisfies your so many senses. It brings in a lot of it broadens your viewpoint in life, which Netflix will never be able to do. And whatever said and done, I think students should read. It's not an audiovisual medium, okay? It's very thinking medium. It forces you to think and analyze. And that is where students lack today. Apart from that, there's a lot of attention span that is lacking. So at one time, our university used to say 3 hours lecture, but today sitting for 3 hours is impossible. Sitting for 90 minutes has become difficult, and more than 5 minutes you can't see a video. So there's a lack of concentration, okay, which is what is making people take superficial decisions. So only when you think deep do you start actually taking good decisions. And lastly, I would say what is lacking is students mistaking the information for knowledge. Okay, so yes, everything is available on Google, but Google is information. Google is not knowledge. Google is not wisdom, and which is why we are there, and which is why they have paid their fees to be here. So the belief that everything is available there, why should I listen or why should I go to the classroom is very superfluous. I think students need to understand the fact that faculty there is there to guide them, to take them through this information. What is good or what is relevant to them is what a faculty does. So that information knowledge is kind of gets little interchange, but that is something which is, again, I would like to see more and more in students. Yeah.
Last but not the least, what valuable advice would you like to the students for them to have a prosperous career ahead?
Yeah. So every time we now and then we do this, we break out, and then we just start looking at the future. We start looking at how things will be, what is the scope for managers in the future and on the scope of industry in the future. So one thing which has become very clear now, and of course this is a dynamic world, we all know that. But in this dynamic world, what's very much needed is a vertical knowledge rather than horizontal knowledge. So when I say this, what I mean is that the knowledge has to be deep. It can't be those days of general management are gone. Okay, you can't be generalist today. So you got to have very intense knowledge about a particular subject, and which is what will carry you through for the rest of your career. You can put your foot in the door to begin with, okay, if you are a generalist, but you will really get stuck if you are not good in one particular area. That particular area becomes your USP, okay, and nobody can beat you to it. So I will advise all students that pick up your niche area, pick up what you're good at, and go and become a master in that. You're doing masters, right? So you have to become a master in that particular subject, and people will value you for it. So that is one advice. I think everybody should take this seriously.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for spending some of your valuable time with us, sir.
Thanks, College Dunia. I think you're doing good job. We are very tuned into you and always receptive to what you have to say.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.